So we will have about 20 minutes of this dialogue section and question and answers and feedback. Yeah, so after hearing 3 interesting presentations, I already see hands coming up. Yeah, so kindly please pass the microphone so that the translators can translate for everybody. Hello, microphone. The microphone has gone on pilgrimage.
Muchas gracias. ¿Puedo? Muchas gracias. Son 2 cosas, una reacción a la pregunta abierta que lanzaba Eileen y una pregunta también para Nicolás. La reacción a la pregunta abierta que lanzaba Eileen, en la tradición mística cristiana hay un momento donde la contemplación de la naturaleza es esencial, que es el paso de la vía purgativa a la vía contemplativa. No me alargo con eso, está presente en el cántico espiritual de San Juan de la Cruz, está presente en los ejercicios de contemplación de Jalix. En términos ignacianos, el paso de la vía purgativa a la contemplativa es el paso de primera a segunda semana y concretamente la llamada al Rey Eternal, la llamada del Rey Eternal, que contiene un universo simbólico que para mucha gente ya no está vigente. El rey, la llamada, un carácter un poco militar. Entonces, como reacción a la pregunta, tal vez podríamos cambiarlo por la llamada del creador a la criatura, en ese paso de primera a segunda semana, como el creador llama a la criatura en la contemplación de la creación, en la contemplación de la naturaleza. Y bueno, una pregunta para Nicolás. Las aplicaciones de Internet y las redes a veces se basan en una lógica un poco perversa, en el sentido de que...
In the applications, it's a perverse logic. And then, in order to capture our time and our attention with the greater possible intensity and the greater possible time. So in fact, it is said that we are not the clients of the networks, but rather it's the advertising companies that pay for the services of the networks, and we are then the product. So companies pay for our time in such a way that the applications and the network designs, well, are there, and the more time they can take, they're like vampires of people's time, and this entails that many people are addicted. And in fact, there's a Jesuit who has defined the rules, yes, to be able to publish on the internet. So I do understand that in the current language, one has to take this into account, but the dynamics at the bottom of the exercises is to help us grow in inner freedom. So my doubt, or I'm rather restless about the fact whether this network language might be playing against this inner freedom. Thank you.
I do completely agree with you. There are all kinds of dangers attached to the use of internet, and it is up to us to find ways and to educate, to teach young people and adults as well to deal in a mature way with this new experience, which is still very new. But I think it is really a priority and a duty for us to do so and to be present in the place where people are, because both the young and the adults are present in the internet. And indeed, there is a commercial logic in the digital environment, but we have to be intelligent too, and to be more intelligent and to use those dynamics for the sake of the good. And then indeed you have to take risks.
Thank you. Yes, I see a hand over there to Ed Quinnan. Yeah, because he's putting up his hand for the first time during this few days, so I better give him the chance first.
Why, thank you, Sally. My question is for Sardi and Eileen, but I was thinking back my experience of churchmanship, where I was in a program that got canceled. So I ended up doing my retreat at Fordham University, and I walked Fordham Road, a very busy commercial street. In the first week, I saw plenty of sin, shoplifting, angry events, 2 cab drivers getting out of their cars, insulting one another's mothers. But then I walked the same road in the 4th week, and I saw terrific kindness. A little girl who had been lost and people gathering around, getting her an ice cream cone, looking for her mother. And, you know, there was incredible sympathy. Occurred to me that all 4 weeks were happening all the time. It was my attention that changed. So that encounter, I'm wondering, my provocative question, do our retreat houses inhibit encounter? Because we're behind those walls. And so I lean for the encounter with nature. How do we do that while we are in these confined locations?
Leo and Eileen, you want to respond?
Thank you, Ed. I put your question in the 30 topics language, not precisely a language of the spiritual exercises, but more common language of religious experience that could be part of some of religious experience in pilgrimage. So I disagree. I do agree with many kind of experience that, because the important one, as I mentioned before, the important experience of Ignatius in MANRESA is conocimiento interno. It means that experience knowing himself, knowing God, knowing his will, how God taught him, etc. So your question invite me to imagine more horizon in terms of language. It could be in the time of tertianship, it be on the time of giving retreat, etc. So in my presentation, putting the experience of Father Rio is just a symbolic experience that could help us imagine how a lot of language in the spiritual exercises, even in religious experience. I am not sure that this is my answer for your anxiety.
Many retreat houses like this one have access to beautiful gardens, or you don't have to walk too far away to find nature. So many times I don't think our retreat houses inhibit. People can go where they feel drawn. And if there are limited options for that, well, you know, you find a plant somewhere, or you draw on your own memory, reconnect with nature through memory.
Thank you. So, yes.
Thank you. A question to Nicholas. I would like to know if you have a kind of interaction with people on internet, or just prepare material and download it in internet. This is a question.
Yes, indeed, I have interaction, but as I deal, or as we deal with, as a team, with tens of thousands of people, the interaction by definition is limited, but we try to incite people to interact among themselves and to meet in the physical environment. For instance, when we have the digital retreats, we invite people and we offer them methods to meet in their parishes, in convents, and so on, to share about their retreats. But it could be a choice to have pastoral, how do you call that, guidance, well, all kind of things. No, because we do not have the time and the personnel to do so.
So somebody at the back, I see Colin's hands.
Thank you. My dialogue is with Nicholas, but it's about spiritual director. I think you have answered some of my query, but specifically, I was thinking about the presence of the retreatant to the Holy Spirit in the exercises, and for the spiritual director to sort of monitor the presence, so that the director can see whether the movement is towards God or away from God. So I see this as something that is maybe a gap there. So, anyway, thank you.
Yeah, I think you are right.
Great answer, isn't it?
Fernando de la Amazonia.
Yeah, Fernando from the Amazon. Relationship between the ecological presentation and the one on the pilgrimage. Yeah, closer. So let me share my thoughts, yes, about ecology and pilgrimage, which is very much part of indigenous people's practice to go outdoors, to go onto a pilgrimage of nature, a cosmic pilgrimage. It is the pilgrimage of a God who walks with the universe. And if we don't place ourselves outdoors into the elements, and that is the challenge of the first presentation, right? Well, then we feel as though we're just playing at being gods, and we ourselves are controlling our reality in our square meter of cell or whatever. So then to go outdoors, to go and face the elements is fundamental for us.
Thank you. Francis from Australia. I just want to thank all of you because these presentations have really resonated with our context in Australia, where we have huge country. And so the use of internet is like our harvest time in a way, connecting us and finding new ways to give the exercises and trust people, like you said, to find their way a little. We can't accompany everyone, but finding good ways. So I'm really excited to pursue what you've offered, Nicholas, in your website. And yet there's a great longing for connection with the land and the Aboriginal Indigenous way. So I feel, so our retreats are around pilgrimage, short ones and longer ones going out. So I feel very uplifted by the three presentations for this strong resonance with our threshold and horizon, longing to go deeper and yet meeting people where they are, and the exercises shifting and responding in really creative ways. So thank you.
Something I would like to say is that often we think that internet is mainly a matter of young people. But for instance, the digital retreats are mainly done by the elderly, people in their 70s, in their 80s, in their 90s, many of them, because many of those people are no longer able to go physically to places. Or in the West, their parish or their faith community has more or less disappeared, and they are alone in their house or in their room. And the internet allows them to connect in a digital way with the faith community and to get faith content, spiritual content, which they otherwise would not have. And the same for young people who can be very isolated as well as young Christians, the only one in their parish, the only one in their school. And through internet, they can connect with other people and can get content.
Nicholas, just if you're dealing with low-income populations, oftentimes the cell phone is their one technological device, but it need not come with unlimited data. So what would be the best way of communicating with those populations?
I think there are platforms that use very little data. You can use emails, you can use WhatsApp. And in my country, that's not the problem, so I'm not very familiar with that question. But those means, I think, are relatively friendly towards people with a low income and so a limited amount of data to be consumed.
Muchas gracias a los tres.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you to the three of you. Thank you. What resonated in me was the ecological conversion. And in our case, in Chile, we are rewriting our constitution right now. For the very first time in the history of the West, we are doing so with a group of people who is equal as regards gender, men, women, also with the indigenous peoples present. It's been a very participatory process, very complex as well, because of course it's not been thought of only from the elite. And among some very important things that have happened, we have the fact of how as a country, well, it's still a draft of a new constitution. Obviously, this will have to be passed or rejected now in September by the Congress, but the indigenous peoples of Chile have helped us to move from a narrative or a discourse of the care of creation, which is very typical and that is found in the universal apostolic preferences of the society, and we've moved on to the respect for creation. And let me tell you, it's a very important qualitative change, because we were being told by one of the indigenous constitutionalists, he said to us, why do you think you have to take care of the river if it's the river who takes care of you? So then what is this? How can you be so presumptuous? And why do you think that you are superior and you are over and above what obviously is some other being that takes care of you and not the other way around? So I think that in the exercises, maybe we would have to explore in what way we can place ourselves in the creation of a more respectful system, yes, that comes first and before the desire of taking care of what or who is taking care of us. I mean, I want to take care of my mother, but why? Because first I was taken care of by her. True. So I think that this step is important, because we tend to go very much in a hurry, and we understand ecological conversion as not to destroy, not to damage, when in fact there is a previous step, which is to acknowledge how I was made and taken care of by nature. It's just a remark. And if you have any idea, Eileen, that you could share about this, I'd be happy. And for you, Nicholas, I also wanted to ask something more specific. One of the challenges that we find nowadays in internet is as it's so democratic, really, it's open to anyone. Anyone can upload a video or whatever. It's very difficult to establish a category of the quality of content, yeah? And even ourselves in our pastoral life, sometimes, I mean, we accumulated some recommendations, but we end up with a huge file full of content without knowing how to use it, because we cannot establish a good hierarchy of levels of content. Have you done that, for example, with videos, to define by quality of content some useful way in which we can gain access to high quality material, high quality content, where there is a reference, you know, that's more or less understandable as to the good, you know, content. And I'm not referring only to commercial videos, no, also presentations. For example, we ourselves here in this meeting, yeah, I mean, we have millions of webinars and Zooms and presentations that we've done on the internet or that we listen to, and some say, you know, very interesting things, but you start accumulating content that eventually becomes garbage because it's very difficult to know how to use it if you don't have it well classified. Do you have any suggestion to select material?
Gracias por el comentario.
Thank you for the comment about taking care. It's so good. Yes, it comes from 2:15, meaning it's the word of God, yeah, who has just created the human creature, and he gives it to the earth saying, take care. And I was opening a circular relationship between respect and care, yeah? So taking care of the soil and the earth engenders respect, and respect in turn engenders protection. That's the way I see it. Your question is, I believe, a very important question and quite complex. Let me say just a couple of things. First, internet.
Internet is an environment of anonymity. But at the same time, there is a strong desire to personalize internet. And therefore it is important, and that's one of the major tasks of internet apostolate, to build a community. On the long time, to build a community of people that know you and that have trust in you. And that can be through newsletters and whatever kind of means, so that people know if something comes from Cristobal, it's okay. I can trust it. When it comes from the Jesuits, when it comes from those religious, it's okay. So there is that tension between anonymity and personalization, and therefore community building is important. What is on that website is okay, because that's the website from that person, that group. So ambassadors are so important. We were most happy for our prayer podcast. We have as ambassador the former European president. He accepted that we use his picture, his photograph, to make publicity for our podcast. It's very important. Faces, no anonymity, to make people trust you. That's one thing. The second thing I would speak about, or I would mention SEO, search engine optimization. That's when you produce videos, when you produce other materials, when writing them, when tagging them, it's a bit technical, you produce them in such a way that people can find them through Google. That's not market. Yeah, it's a kind of marketing, but that's not expensive. That doesn't cost money. But write the texts and use tags and other simple techniques that exist in order that people can find them through Google, because people search through Google. There are all kinds of databases and so on. I don't use them because I forget. There are so many of them. and each has a different system, I cannot use them. But producing our content in such a way, and that's a technique, that through Google, and that's what people effectively use, they can find your content.
Thank you very much. I'm aware of the time. I know some more want to share and feedback. I would suggest bring it to small groups and then bring it back in the plenary in the afternoon, right? So now, thank you very much for the presenters. We will close this section. Please stay for 2 minutes. I would like to ask Paul to come and to give us some information about what about the arrangement.